Welcome to Do You Ever Wonder? The show that brings you answers to many of the questions that you may have, but with no one to ask. Do You Ever Wonder is hosted by Mike Haltman, CEO of Hallmark Abstract Service, who, like you, has always been deeply curious about a wide variety of topics. Each week, Mike will be speaking with guests who are leaders in their field and who have inspirational stories to tell. So now, sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Mike Haltman, and I am going to be your host for this episode of Do You Ever Wonder? And we're very excited about tonight's episode. We have with us an award-winning registered investment advisor. She is a juggernaut for women's financial literacy. She's a best-selling author. She's a frequent guest, or has been a frequent guest, and will be again a frequent guest national business shows. And critically, she is a fiduciary and she protects her clients' assets and their best interests. And we'll get into a little bit about what that all means. But please welcome Cary Carbonaro.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me. Very happy to be here.
Fantastic, and it is an honor. Cary is in the parlance, she's somebody. So, very happy to have her. So now, one of your focuses is women's financial literacy.
Yes.
My wife is she worked in the Citicorp sales and trading training program, an MBA, all that, and she's fairly financially literate. But why women's financial literacy there's a lacking, I'm guessing.
There is. It's interesting because you think about it, women have a lot of strikes against them when it comes to money and financial literacy. First, women make less, because of the pay wage gap. Second, women save less because for a lot of different reasons, sometimes they put others first, sometimes, usually the kids or, not themselves, and certainly don't think that saving for retirement is a priority. They invest less. Because if you think about it, women are much more conservative and they're like, oh, I'm afraid of the stock market. 4, they live longer. So they need more money, not less money. And then 5, a lot of times they just don't even plan for it because it's just not on their radar. It's not something like, I always say, a man wakes up and says, I'm going to hire a financial planner. A woman is in a crisis, usually a death, a disability, a divorce, something major that's bad happening. And then she's like, oh my God, I guess I might need help. And so it's in that moment that she says, and then she's like, where do I go? Who do I trust? How do I know? And it's just a terrible situation. And I don't want any woman to be in that situation, to either not know, feel vulnerable, feel not protected. It's just, to me, I feel like I was put on this earth to have women not be in that position.
That's phenomenal that you have a passion and a mission and you're fulfilling it. So now I know you've written books, you're a best-selling author, but what's your best method to reach women and provide them with some of the tools that at some point they're going to 100% need?
Yes. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And I haven't even scratched the surface of what I really want to do with this industry. There's so many things that I plan to do. And I'm actually in the process of getting together a women's mastermind group in the industry to tackle the big issues, which is, that the industry was set up by men for men, and how do we make it more female friendly, and how do we match females who are looking for female advisors. And and a lot of, even just changing the culture around the language and making it more welcoming. It's definitely not like the whitewashing or what they call the pink washing of things where, oh, let's put a pink bow on it and make it female friendly. This is like a lot more work. This is like moving the Titanic. So I will be working on this till I'm gone from this earth, and hopefully I'm going to be able to fix it.
The mastermind is with other registered investment advisors like yourself.
Yes, and also other people in the industry who can help and guide and have the same passion as I do, because there's a lot of us that do.
Well, I told you before we started, my first position out of business school, I was a bond analyst at a wirehouse in
Right.
1984, and there was definitely a much different treatment of men and women. It was
Well, guess what? I don't even know if it's changed that much today.
it's not. Although, if what went on then went on now, people would be fired a lot quicker, I think.
Yeah, agree. But you have to also understand, like my industry, as a registered investment advisor and as a CFP, it's about an 80-20. So it's about 80% men, 20% women. So there's so few women as it is. And then out of those 20% women, there's only a few of those who are actually going out and getting clients. A lot of the women are in teaching positions or support positions or planning positions, or like, they call it front of the office versus back of the office type positions. And so it's so sad to me that there's so few women in this field.
Well, I think that, although I know that when I went to business school, I got an MBA in finance, and
Yep, so did I.
the one place everyone wanted to go was to Wall Street. And I don't know that that's still the case anymore. I think,
I would think the answer is no. I think they probably want to go to tech companies or startups or something way more than Wall Street.
so where are the women coming into the business going to be coming from?
I think personally they should be coming from other professions. That's what I think. I think we've got a lot of good opportunities for job changers. Women who are actually teachers are excellent to go into this profession, I think.
Or social workers. People,
Right. Yes.
I used to be in a networking group with a woman who her practice was focused on women going through crisis and empathy. I think you mentioned that before.
Yes.
You can't put a price tag on empathy, and I
No,
think
and you also can't teach it. You either have it or you don't.
correct. So, I would imagine that on the scale of empathy, men come down pretty far.
Well,
And
and I can't say that about every man, but just in general, you're right. Some men are more empathetic than others, but I just think that women are, I always say, like, women are going to care about you as a person, where men are going to care about your money. And there's a difference.
that is 100% true. I have the curse of being very empathetic, so that is it's hard. It's
It's so hard. I mean, I lose sleep over a client making the wrong decision because I'm feeling what they're feeling, or if they're going through a struggle, I'm feeling it. So, and if they're not listening to me, it makes me feel so sad because I know I'm giving them the best advice possible, and they just sometimes can't take it.
so do you ever fire clients for not
I
listening?
have. I have. Or clients have fired me for telling them things that they don't want to hear, which is the truth.
All right. Yeah, that's right. But it's difficult. I know in my business, we have fired some clients who may not do business the way that we think it should be done, or who don't want to listen to, what it is that makes perfect sense. So
Right,
difficult. Clients are dear, but by the
right,
same token, you can't tolerate people who are just not good people.
right. Well, and I'm at the point in my career where I really only want to work with people that I like, and I'm not going to compromise. I actually said that to a young advisor today, and he was like, "Wow, you can decide." And I said, "Yes, you can. You can decide who you want to work with, and I only want to work with people I like."
Well, you can right. So, in the realm of networking, you have to, they always say you work with people who you like, you work
Right,
with people who you trust, but you also have to like them. But, I think fledgling or young registered financial advisors, or, really in any sales type of business,
right,
always have that luxury to turn away business sales.
right. Right. Well, I guess you do when you get to the point of your career where you can.
Yeah.
you know?
And you pretty much will know when you've reached that point.
Yes,
You don't have to take the crap that someone's throwing at you, and you
right,
what we've done. Yeah.
exactly.
So let me ask you this. I see commercials on TV all the time. I can picture the guy. I can't remember the company, but their big claim to fame is that they're a fiduciary. Uh, when I took the Series 7, although many years ago, I was under the impression that anyone who was handling money was a fiduciary.
Oh, you're so wrong. And actually, you know what? Everybody probably thinks the same as you. So,
Well, when you think about it, a fiduciary, well, I guess technically a fiduciary is someone who really gives a crap about the other person's money as opposed to just generating income for themselves.
actually a little bit more because it is a legal definition, right? And it is a fiduciary is somebody who puts the client's needs before their own. And if they don't, they can be sued. So every advice and recommendation that is made to the client is in the client's best interest, not the advisor's best interest, and not suitable, and not which is, you know, the different standard. If, let's say, you were on the broker dealer side of the world, and ironically, I was talking with somebody about this just yesterday, that the broker dealer names who are not fiduciaries are the household names that everybody knows.
Correct.
So that's the problem. They have brand recognition, except that they're not fiduciaries. Then you go to the other side and they're names you never heard of.
The I remember when I started, Lehman Brothers was the crown jewel of investment firms, and yet they were nothing but brokers.
Right.
You had a book of overcoming objections, and I don't think they were fiduciaries by any stretch, but the people who had accounts at Lehman and maybe now at Goldman, I don't know, maybe they think that they are getting that kind of treatment.
Right, right. I think honestly, the industry is so confusing. It's even confusing if you're in the industry. So I can't imagine if you're outside of the industry, how confusing it is. I actually just wrote an article on this that's going to come out in the next week or two or so about the difference between a registered investment advisor and a broker dealer and the hats that you wear. And then let's say you're a CFP, which is certified financial planner, which I am an ambassador for the profession appointed by the CFP board to, you know, talk to the media and talk about the profession. And so as a CFP,
That's a very impressive accreditation.
thank you. Yeah, I've had that since about 2000 and I think 13 or so. But anyway, maybe it was 14. But so that if you're a CFP, you are a fiduciary. So you wear that fiduciary hat. But if I'm a CFP working for a broker dealer, what am I? Am I a fiduciary, or am I working for the broker dealer and a non-fiduciary? So they literally say, well, if I'm recommending a product and I'm not getting paid, well, then I'm wearing my other hat, and then I switch hats and I go like that. So
Fine.
it's super confusing. Nobody understands that. Even if I'm doing it, I don't even know what I'm doing if I'm doing that, but I'm not in that position. I'm on the other side. So it's a lot easier. So if I'm already a CFP as a fiduciary, and I'm a registered investment advisor as a fiduciary, I don't have to switch hats. I'm always a fiduciary. So
Let me ask you this. So when I was at the wirehouses, sales credits was the be all and end all. How much did we make in commissions yesterday? And when I was just leaving the industry, the model had gone towards more collecting assets
right.
than churning commissions. So
Correct.
if you're collecting assets at a broker dealer and you're just investing that money with either in funds or with money managers, are they more of a, not that they are a fiduciary, but are they wearing a little bit more of the fiduciary hat because they're not solely trying to churn and burn their?
So yes and no. And so very, very good question. So you're right. The new term is AUM, or assets under management, and it's how you are judged in my profession, right? And so So let's go first on the RIA side. So on the RIA side, if I am charging an assets under management fee, the only money that I get is what the client is paying me, right? I don't get any other money from any other thing than how it's being invested. The products are, or the recommendations are, I'm getting paid for my advice and the products are falling out. So now let's go to the other side. And by the way, it's still fiduciary and still, my recommendations hold weight and they're in the best interest of the client. Now let's go to the other side. And now let's say I'm going to do AUM on the broker-dealer side, broker-dealer world. So I now am recommending what they call a wrap fee, which is I'm going to get paid a wrap fee on top of whatever I'm recommending. So I have seen where, and I'm not going to mention names or anything, but where the client is paying the wrap fee, the client is paying for loaded mutual funds, the client is paying for commissions, the client is paying expense ratios on what is recommended. So there is a lot going on here and none of it has to be a fiduciary.
Interesting.
So
you would think with all of that loaded together that it would, I forget what the rule was on the series.
I call it double dipping, by the way.
It is double dip. It's actually sounds more like triple.
I was just going to say it could be triple. Yes, could be triple.
But isn't there some metric by which you can't charge more on a percentage basis for a transaction? Like
I don't know that rule. I know that the SEC is coming down hard on fees. They started first with 401ks with like full disclosure of fees. Eventually they might get to IRAs. Eventually they might get to brokerage accounts. They can barely handle the 401ks right now. So, just watching that Bernie Madoff thing again on Netflix that just came out, I don't think we can rely on the SEC to take care of us.
And that's going to get me to my.
Sorry, SEC, don't come after me, but I'm just saying.
But that actually is my next point that I wanted to bring up is that I have a pet peeve, and I have a lot of pet peeves, but one of my largest pet peeves, I'll be watching the business news in the morning and they'll say that, some firm just downgraded AMD. Now, AMD has come in from 196 or so to 60, and now they're downgrading it. Or a company will have a earnings warning, and the day it opens, they downgrade it. And
right.
My pet peeve is the reactiveness versus the proactiveness of Wall Street. Now,
right.
I don't know if registered investment advisors, do you rate stocks, rank stocks?
No, that's totally not our area of expertise at all. What we will do is we will pick managers or asset classes and then put everybody in that and then watch and monitor the asset classes. Sometimes we do active, sometimes we do passive, sometimes we do both. It depends on, where we are in the cycle and what the client wants and, what's more important to them, fees or outperformance and things like that. So it's more of what the client wants and needs and, and then tying it to the financial plan. So, we're not into picking stocks or evaluating stocks. That's like a CFA job, which is, certified, a CFA versus a CFP, which is a certified financial planner. So people get confused all the time because they actually think we're the same thing, but it's very, very different skill set.
So I know, like, I have a bank account. I have my business bank account at X bank, and Y bank comes and says, we'll give you X, Y, and Z, but moving an account is a pain in the ass.
Yes.
If I'm a client of a broker dealer and
right.
they don't give me good advice, or they don't get me out of a stock until it craters, what's the hold? What keeps people from moving? Is it human inertia?
I think it's a lot of inertia and a lot of fear. That's I probably fear number one, inertia number two. That's what I would say. And then also a lot of times people don't know who to trust. People don't know where to find people. I always tell people, go to a CFP or a registered investment advisor just for like a free look. Like, have them look at your portfolio and say, How does it look? Are there any holes? Is there anything that looks crazy here? What would you do? What would you recommend? Everybody's going to do that for you pretty much for free. Just because to meet the person, see if they can work with them, see, I could tell you in my career, I would say there's maybe 1 or 2 times in my entire lifetime where I got a portfolio and I'm like, it's perfect. I wouldn't change anything. But that's a very small percentage. Most of the time, there's a lot of holes.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. So would you recommend that women look to work with women?
Well, that's my opinion. But a woman has to be wanting that. I think a woman should work with who they want to work with. But I feel like since there's so few women and we care so much, I don't know why a woman would not want to work with a woman. Although I interestingly enough, I did have a client who's a woman refer me to her friend, and she said, no, I want to work with a man.
Really?
And I said, okay. She said, a man can take care of me better. And I said, okay.
Those are old line, stereotypical. Yeah, interesting.
Well, and in my industry also, this is another thing we talk about, the women who are in the industry, like because we are, on the same playing field with the guys, we have to be so much better to even be on the field with them, to use a sports analogy. So we have to be 10 times better just to be on the same field. So take that for what it's worth.
Not to age myself, but I remember watching Muriel Siebert on.
Oh yes, I remember Muriel too.
She was a tough old cracker.
Yes.
Tough. But
she was.
Yeah, but again, she broke the plane, right?
She did.
A woman to own a seat on the
stock exchange. Yeah. Yep. Yes, she was.
And now, I mean, women have come a long way.
We have, but we're still not that far in finance, in my opinion. We have, and just the industry itself is just not female friendly. Women are not attracted to stocks. They don't want to talk about stocks. We don't talk about our 401ks. Right. We talk about everything else, but we don't talk about money. It's still a taboo subject.
I imagine, yeah. I mean, I guess men do talk about it quite a bit.
They do.
Yeah. So we have the market now has had a little bit of a run into the new year.
Yeah.
We've had 3 pretty big hiccups over the past 20 years, whether
right.
it's 2011, 2008, and I guess last year.
Yeah.
Your biggest role during those down periods is holding your clients' hands?
Oh, yes. Behavioral finance is a big part of my job and what I do, because, people are jumping off the ledge here. When 2008 and last year, I have to do everything to have people not make the bad decisions that will affect them for the rest of their lives. And I'm getting really good at it. I mean, last year I was 100 for 100, 100%. I got everybody to listen to me last year. And that was really incredible, because there's been 2008, that wasn't the case. There was at least 3 that didn't, in 2009, there was a client that called me on like March 15th, and she was an emergency room doctor, and she was in her 40s, and she's like, I'm out. And I'm like, I'm not letting you out. And she's like, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't lose money every single day. And I said, this is your retirement money. I am not letting you go to cash. I am not letting you out. Guess what? That was like the end. 2000, it was like the next day that we went up from there.
All right, and she listened to you.
She listened. I mean, I kind of forced her, but she listened.
Listen, I remember I was when I was a proprietary equity trader. It was always the retail investor is always wrong. They sell at the bottom and you buy at the top, and that's always the way it's been. So, all right, last question, because then we have to wrap this up, although it's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the bond market, and the 10-year now is at about a 350.
Yeah.
So the smart money in the bonds is telling you that inflation is not a problem.
Right.
Stock market, even with its run at the beginning of the year, is telling you that recession is an issue.
Right.
So in the push-pull of that scenario, what do you think is right?
So, as you know, none of us can see the future.
Mhm.
However, the market is a leading indicator. And the market, I think, has already priced in a recession. That's what I believe. Don't know if I'm true or not, but that's what I believe. The yield curve is inverted, meaning the short terms are higher than the long term right now.
Much less inverted.
It's a little bit less inverted, but I mean, you're still getting in the fours on, 3 months to a year, even up to 2 years, you're getting in the fours, and then you're in the threes longer term. So I also think that with inflation too, they're running it. There was a really good article that Alan Bender wrote. Is it Binder or Bender? In Wall Street Journal about they're looking at they're not looking at it on an annualized basis, or they're looking at it on an annualized basis rather than looking at it like quarter to quarter. And really, we're in better shape than we think we are as far as the inflation coming down. But the way that they're measuring the numbers, I don't know. I mean, I don't work for the Fed, and I'm not an economist, but I think it's better than we think it is.
Okay.
On the inflation side.
Hey, listen, I have to retire soon. I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right too.
I really do. But so tell people, if somebody sees this and says, you know what, I want to talk to Cary, how do they get in touch with you?
I'm super easy to find. You can reach me you can find me on any social media channel: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This is my book right here. I also have a website, carycarbonaro.com. And then I work currently for a firm called Advisor Capital Management. And you can accept that I'm so new that I'm not even on the website yet. So, but anyway, I'm super easy. Just Google me and you can find me. And my numbers are out there. My emails are out there. I'm very easy to find.
Terrific. Well, hopefully people will see this and reach out. But I would just like to thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Your knowledge base is second to none.
Thank you.
When my daughters are at a point where they have investable money, I will recommend that they come and see you.
Good. I'd love to meet them and take care of them.
Terrific. Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, you take care.
Thank you for listening to Do You Ever Wonder? And we hope that you enjoyed the show. Next week, we will have another terrific guest telling their story. And if there are any specific topics you'd like to hear more about, please don't hesitate to let us know. Our curiosity, like yours, knows no bounds. Please subscribe and like and share this episode on your social media. See you next week.
Super fun.